The town of Blackridge fell silent long before midnight, but not because it was peaceful. Every street hummed with the tension that the new nurse, Emmy, would soon come to understand. Shadows pooled in corners, elongating unnaturally, as if reluctant to leave the dim glow of the flickering streetlights. At the very edge of town, where the final lamp struggled against the oppressive darkness, there stood a house unlike any other. Matte black, it seemed to absorb the light, devouring it, and whispering a cold invitation that no one dared answer. Every family who had ever lived there had disappeared before 2 years passed. No bodies were ever found. Only rumors lingered, of hidden doors, of corridors that should not exist, and of something waiting beyond them. Emmy's car rolled slowly onto the gravel driveway as the last hues of sunset bled into the sky. She stepped out, pale blue nurse scrubs clinging to her frame, blonde hair loosely tied back, hands trembling slightly. She had ignored the dread pooling in her chest when the town doctor handed her the keys that morning. Her feet crunched softly against the gravel as she approached the front door. Key in hand, it barely turned before the door creaked open on its own, as if it had been waiting. Inside, the air was unnatural and impossibly cold, carrying a metallic temps that clung to her tongue. Emmy called out softly, "Hello?" Her voice dissolved into the silence before it could echo. The house was empty, or so it seemed, but something watched from the dark. Something patient, something hungry. That night, she tried to sleep. The bed felt wrong, almost liquid beneath her, as if it resisted her weight. Above, soft dragging sounds moved through the floorboards, circling the ceiling like a predator, and then a voice, barely audible, whispered her name beside her ear, low and wet. Not human. She spun, heart hammering, but saw nothing but darkness stretching endlessly down the hall. Days passed without relief. The townspeople avoided her gaze. Conversations ended abruptly whenever the house came up. One elderly patient, her skin thin and translucent, gripped Emmy's wrist with a strength that seemed impossible. "Leave," she said, trembling, "before it learns you." By the third night, the house made its presence undeniable. The walls breathed. The floor throbbed beneath her feet, in sync with the vibrations that shook the walls. And then came the crash upstairs. It was loud and sharp. Her name was called again, radiating from everywhere at once. Compelled, terrified, she climbed the staircase. Each step groaned under her weight. At the end of the hallway, a door stood open. Darkness poured from within, thick and viscous. Crossing the threshold, the familiar room disappeared. In its place stretched an endless corridor, walls pulsing like living flesh. The smell of decay and sulfur burned her nostrils. A voice echoed from deep within, "Come." Before she could retreat, the door slammed behind her. It was soft, warm, and resistant, pressing back like a living thing. Shadows peeled from the walls, forming grotesque shapes with elongated limbs and glowing eyes. She ran, stumbling, walls clawing at her clothing. Blood welled, but vanished instantly into the floor. A figure stepped into her path, tall, skin cracked like burnt clay, its mouth unnaturally wide. "You live here now," it said. The ground collapsed beneath her feet. She fell into darkness. She was sprawled atop a living mass of pulsing flesh. Fires burned in a void of shadow around her. Figures moved within it. Missing families frozen in eternal terror, reaching for her with pleading faces. Then it rose, massive, horned chains trailing behind it, eyes burning with fury. Its voice boomed through the abyss. "You belong to me now." Emmy refused. Fear transformed into a sharp, driving edge of defiance. She struck, clawed, and screamed, tearing through the creatures as they swarmed her. In the distance, a doorway flickered. Hope, small and trembling, but real. The horned entity roared, shaking the entire void, but she didn't surrender. She crossed the threshold. Then silence. The house's hallway greeted her again, unchanged, as if the horrors had been a dream. At the end of the corridor, a mirror reflected her face. It blinked back differently, not her smile. Emmy no longer sought to escape. The house had shifted its hold and she changed, hardened and stood ready. The nights stretched endlessly. Emmy explored the house, discovering rooms that weren't rooms and staircases that led nowhere. Each night, she grew stronger, learning to manipulate shadows, to avoid detection, to survive. Months passed, or perhaps minutes. Time had no meaning here. Emmy came to understand the house's hunger. She realized that to survive, she had to embrace the darkness without losing her humanity entirely. Then, a new door appeared, faintly glowing. Emmy approached, hand outstretched, heart pounding with purpose. The entity watched, silent, chained, its power immense, yet respect glimmering in its ancient eyes. The house no longer sought to consume her. Instead, it had found an inhabitant who could, perhaps, one day, command it.